More great questions.
Grow Home was a little game about a robot named Bud, who crash landed on a planet and had to grow a star plant up into the sky to reach his mothership, Mum.
Ah, Bud, one of my favourite video game robots.
Oh, well, Darren, I bet you were excited to get your scoops on the sequel to Grow Home, Grow Up. Take that as a yes?
That's a yes.
This time around, it's not just Bud that's crashed, it's Mum too. And parts of the ship are scattered all over this planet, high up on its floating islands. In order to reach them to put Mum back together again, you'll have to get growing.
Now, I didn't actually play the first game, guys, so this was a wonderful little discovery for me. We reviewed the sequel on PC, but using a controller, and the way you make Bud climb is with each of the triggers to allow him to latch onto vertical surfaces.
Yeah, it takes a bit of getting used to, but it's a cool way to get around the environment. Although it's not the most efficient way.
Certainly not. These star plants that you must grow are huge, creeping vines, like something out of Jack and the Beanstalk. By growing offshoots of the plants into these power rocks, the main stalk will grow taller. But climbing up is slow and tedious. You're much better off making use of the environment in more inventive ways.
Yes, and luckily there are lots of things in the landscape that help Bud get around. Bouncy mushrooms, plants that shoot you upwards, stalks you can climb, and these are all much quicker ways to get Bud higher. That is if you aim correctly.
Yeah, the physics in this world can be quite tricky, as gravity isn't the same as it is on Earth, so it all takes a little bit of getting used to. But that challenge is part of the fun. Bud has a little jetpack too, which has a short battery, but makes aiming yourself in long jumps a little easier.
Something they've added in this sequel is Bud's ability to store seeds. Once he's analysed a plant, he can store the seeds for future use. So if you ever find yourself in need of a bouncy mushroom or a lily pad to get across a pond, Bud can grow one on the spot.
Yeah, that was definitely a cool addition. But even though Bud collects all these seeds, I only ever really found a use for the mushroom. And even then, I rarely needed to use that because there were just so many plants in the environment already.
What about the jet flower? That was useful.
I maybe used it once or twice.
Yeah, definitely a bit of a missed opportunity there. This sequel is more of an open world, so you do need to cover more distances as you make your way between star plants. Once you grow each plant tall enough, you'll be able to retrieve part of your mothership, Mum, and send it back up into space.
I did like that the landscape varied as you moved from plant to plant, but once I'd gotten the hang of the first plant, I realised it was going to be the same sort of thing each time.
Don't forget, Bud also unlocks a few gadgets to use, things like a glider and the ability to fold into a little ball. Now that makes getting across the land way more fun. Perhaps I should consider it as an upgrade to my own design.
Well, we certainly can't have you rolling around the studio, Darren. That would be chaos.
Now you'll see I can roll straight across the studio floor, just like Bud!
See, Darren, the problem here is that you're a square, and squares can't roll, you need to be a ball.
Mind over matter, Goose!
But yes, those gadgets are certainly helpful in bridging those long gaps. Checkpoints are dotted at various points up the star plant, but if you fall before making it to the next one, it means climbing all the way up that stretch all over again.
Ah, yes, I fell to my doom more than a few times. But the second climb is always quicker because you learn your way around the plant and where the best bouncy spots are. I have to say, even though this core mechanic is quite simple, it's very clever too. The way you're limited in how you're able to traverse this environment makes for a fun challenge.
I agree, Goose, but unfortunately it's almost exactly the same as the first game. The world is larger this time, and there are those few minor additions we mentioned, but there isn't much progression in terms of game design with the sequel. It's just more of the same.
Well, I happen to love the first game. I'm glad there's more of it. There's always room for more games starring robots.
Well, I think so too, Darren, but I also think there's room for the developers to have evolved that concept a little bit more. I mean, that's what sequels are for. And also the relationship between Bud and Mum was so lovely in that first game, and I didn't get that same emotional hook here.
The sequel has expanded on the original in terms of the world itself, though giving you a little more to tackle. So for me, jumping in fresh, I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's understandable. If you loved Grow Home and are keen for more, then you'll really love this. I personally would have just loved to have seen some new ideas. I'm giving it 2.5.
I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 rubber chickens.